This brand new truck has a sticker price of $63,000. But after 6 years of owning it, do you know how much it will actually cost you? Over $120,000. The reality is that millions of people are driving around in vehicles they absolutely cannot afford, trapping themselves in debt for decades just to drive to an office job. Most people think that calculating affordability based on monthly payments is a smart strategy. But in reality, it is a trap designed by dealerships to silently drain your wealth. If you've ever negotiated a car based on what you can pay per month, you've been ripped off. Today, I'm exposing the math behind dealership financing and giving you the only rule you ever need to buy a car without wrecking your financial future. And the first thing I need you to do is delete a phrase from your vocabulary forever. Monthly payment. I mean it. Rip it out. Burn it. Throw it in the trash. Because the second you walk into a dealership and tell them what monthly payment you want, you have already lost. You think you're negotiating the price of a car. They know you're not. You think you're being practical. They know you're being emotional. You think saying, I need to stay around $650 a month, makes you sound responsible. What you actually said was, please rearrange the numbers in whatever way makes me feel comfortable enough to sign. That phrase is the whole game. A dealership loves a monthly payment buyer because monthly payment is soft clay. Price is concrete. Interest rate is concrete. Fees are concrete. Trade-in value is concrete. But monthly payment? Oh, they can massage that all day. Stretch the term from 48 months to 72, from 72 to 84. Roll in taxes, roll in dock fees, roll in negative equity from your old car, slip in an extended warranty, slip in tire protection, slip in gap coverage, slip in interior stain protection that sounds like it was invented by a guy in a cheap suit 5 minutes before you walked in. And then they look you right in the eye and say, good news, we got you to your number. Of course they did. They just turned one bad decision into 5 smaller bad decisions bundled together. Let me tell you how this usually goes. A buyer walks in. Let's call him Mike. Mike makes decent money. Not rich, not broke. Just enough to be dangerous. He sees a truck online for $63,000. Deep down, he knows that number is insane for his life, but he doesn't let himself think in totals because totals hurt. Monthly payments soothe. Monthly payments numb. So when the salesperson asks, what are you trying to stay around per month? Mike says, I don't know. Maybe like $750? $800? The salesperson doesn't care what the truck costs anymore. Now it's about engineering the emotional illusion. They come back and say, well, if we go 84 months with a little money down and we use your trade, we can make that work. And Mike feels relief. Relief. That's the emotion. Not confidence, not clarity. Relief, which tells you everything. When you're making a good financial decision, you don't feel relief because you weren't under attack in the first place. Relief is what you feel when someone stops squeezing your throat. Then Mike goes to the finance office. This is where dreams go to get quietly strip-mined. The finance manager starts stacking products. For just another $39 a month, you can protect yourself from major repairs. For just $22 a month, you can cover wheel and tire damage. For just $18 a month, you can add gap protection. Notice how every scam becomes tiny when it's translated into monthly language. That's not an accident. They don't sell you on cost. They sell you on invisibility. This is why what can you afford per month is such a poisonous question. It disconnects your brain from reality. It turns a $4,000 bad decision into only $53 more a month. It turns an extra year and a half of debt into keeping your payment comfortable. It turns interest into wallpaper. And this is how normal people become car poor while telling themselves they got a deal. Now let's talk about what a car actually costs, because the loan is not the cost. The payment is not the cost. The sticker is not the cost. The real number is total cost of ownership. That's the number that matters. That's the number adults use. Everything else is sales theater. Total cost of ownership means the full machine. Purchase price, interest, taxes, registration, insurance, gas, maintenance, repairs, tires, depreciation, and all the weird little leaks people pretend don't count because they don't happen on signing day. A car is not a one-time purchase. A car is a monthly extraction system. Let's go back to that $63,000 truck. Say you put very little down. Say the taxes and fees push the out-the-door number closer to $69,000. Say you finance it for 72 months at an interest rate that isn't even crazy by today's standards. Suddenly, your payment is enormous. Then insurance on a full-size new truck is brutal. Gas is brutal. Tires are brutal. Maintenance is more expensive than people admit. And depreciation, that's the silent executioner. You drive that thing off the lot and it starts melting in value immediately. So maybe over 6 years, you spend around $75,000 to $80,000 in payments and interest. Add insurance and you can easily be another $12,000 to $18,000 deep, depending on your profile and location. Add gas over 6 years and maybe you're in for another $15,000 or more if you actually commute. Add maintenance, repairs, tires, registration, random stuff. Now you're well into 6 figures, and that's before we even talk about the opportunity cost of what that money could have done if it had been invested instead of torched into a depreciating status symbol. That's the phantom cost nobody wants to face. Not just what you spent, but what that money never got the chance to become. This is why broke people often look rich and rich people often look boring. Because real wealth is mostly invisible. It's paid off assets, it's index funds, it's cash reserves, it's low fixed expenses, it's freedom. The guy in the shiny leased luxury SUV is not automatically winning. He might be one job loss away from panic. He might be financing a costume. And I get why people do it, let's be honest. Cars hit deep psychologically. Cars are identity, tribe, reward, proof, status, masculinity, freedom, adulthood. A lot of people are not buying transportation. They're buying emotional anesthesia. They're buying a machine that says, I matter. I made it. People should respect me. I'm not behind. That's real. That impulse is real. I'm not mocking the feeling. I'm mocking what industries have done with that feeling. They've studied your insecurity and built a payment plan around it. That guy making $65,000 a year buying a $90,000 heavy-duty truck he never uses for actual work? That's not a transportation decision. That's an identity crisis with leather seats. He doesn't haul equipment. He doesn't tow for a living. He drives it to a climate-controlled office, maybe picks up mulch twice a year and tells himself he needs the capability. Capability for what? Parking badly at the grocery store? Spending $110 to fill the tank so strangers think you're important? Nobody wants to say it because we're all supposed to be polite, but a huge percentage of these oversized vehicles are just debt-fueled vanity projects. And the saddest part is the people buying them often genuinely think they're behaving like successful adults because the culture has normalized financial self-harm as long as it looks expensive. Now here's the framework that cuts through all of this nonsense. The 20/4/10 rule. If you remember nothing else from this entire conversation, remember this. 20 down, 4 years max. 10% total vehicle costs. This is not some cute guideline. This is a financial reality check. It's the line between transportation and delusion. First, 20% down. Why? Because cars depreciate fast, especially newer ones. The second you buy a car, its value starts dropping. If you put almost nothing down, you can end up owing more than the car is worth almost immediately. That's called being underwater, and it is one of the dumbest positions you can put yourself in financially. Imagine financing almost the entire price of a $35,000 car. You drive it for a year, maybe it's now worth $28,000, but because most of your early payments went to interest, you still owe $31,000. Congratulations! You don't own a car, you own a problem. Now, if you need to sell it, trade it, or your life changes, you're trapped. And what do people do when they're trapped? They roll the negative equity into the next car? Then they're financing not one bad decision, but 2. That is how people end up paying for old mistakes with new interest. A 20% down payment creates instant protection. It forces you to have some skin in the game. It reduces the loan balance. It lowers the payment. It lowers total interest. Most importantly, it gives you a fighting chance of not being upside down the entire time you own the vehicle. And if you don't have 20% down, then you do not have the money to buy that car yet. That's the truth people hate. They want to hear there are creative financing options. No, you are not one financing trick away from affording something. If you can't come up with 20% down, your financial life is not ready for that purchase. Second, 4 years max. 48 months. This one makes people furious because it exposes their real budget. A 72-month loan lies to you. An 84-month loan insults you. It tells you that you need 7 years to digest the price of a car. 7 years. Think about how insane that is. People finance cars longer than they keep phones, jobs, apartments, relationships, sometimes even cities. Your life changes faster than these loans do. A 48-month maximum forces honesty. It compresses the math so you can't hide from the actual price. If the payment at 48 months makes you sweat, that car is too expensive. Not a little bit of a stretch. Too expensive. Period. And let's do the math because math is where the excuses go to die. Let's say you finance $30,000. At 72 months, yes, the payment looks lower. That's why people love it. But over all those extra years, you pay much more in interest. More months, more money leaking out, more time carrying debt on a depreciating asset. At 48 months, the payment is higher, but you get out faster and you preserve thousands in total cost. Now, zoom out. Imagine the difference between a 72-month loan and a 48-month loan is a couple $100s a month. Most people treat that as proof they need the 72-month loan. I treat it as proof they need a cheaper car. That gap is the truth. That gap is the budget signal. The pain is the point. If you need 6 or 7 years to make the payment survivable, you are not making the car affordable. You are making the debt tolerable. And third, the big one. Total vehicle costs must stay under 10% of gross monthly income. Not just the loan, total vehicle costs. Payment, insurance, gas, maintenance, all of it. This is where people realize they've been lying to themselves. Let's say you make $6,000 a month gross. 10% means your total vehicle cost budget is $600 a month. Not just the financing, everything. So maybe your insurance is $140. Gas averages $120. Maintenance fund is $90. That already leaves you with only $250 for the actual payment if you want to stay inside the rule. And people hear that and immediately panic. Wait, what kind of car can I get for a $250 payment? Exactly. Now you're asking the right question. The rule is doing its job. It's dragging you back into reality because a car should support your life, not consume it. Your paycheck has too many jobs already. Housing, retirement, emergency fund, food, healthcare, kids, debt payoff, investing, margin, breathing room, freedom. When your car hogs the budget, everything else gets starved. And then people act shocked when they're 38 years old with no investments, no flexibility, and a driveway full of success. Let me make this brutally simple. If a car breaks the 20/4/10 rule, you cannot afford it. Not, you'll have to cut back a little. Not, you can make it work. Not, it's worth it because you love driving. You cannot afford it. What you're describing is your willingness to suffer for it, not your ability to afford it. And those are not the same thing. People say, but I can make the payment. Great. You can also survive on 4 hours of sleep and gas station food for a while. That doesn't make it healthy. Affordability is not whether you can squeeze it in this month. Affordability is whether the purchase fits cleanly into a stable financial system without choking your future. Now let's kill another myth. Paying cash at a dealership is some kind of negotiating superpower. People love this fantasy. They imagine walking in with cash is like showing up with a golden sword. It's not. In many cases, dealers would actually prefer that you finance. Why? Because financing is a profit center. They can make money on the interest spread. They can get kickbacks from lenders. The finance office exists for a reason. That back room is not there because they enjoy paperwork. It's there because the real money often gets made after you think the deal is done. So when people say, I'll get a better deal if I pay cash, sometimes that can happen, but often the dealership is less excited because you're cutting off one of their revenue streams. The smarter move is usually to negotiate the out-the-door price first like a laser-focused adult, independent of whether you're paying cash or financing. Don't walk in flashing money like it's leverage. Walk in knowing the total number you are willing to pay and the terms you are willing to accept. That's leverage. And if you are paying cash, by the way, that does not magically make a bad purchase good. Overpaying in cash is still overpaying. Draining your emergency fund to buy a car outright is not some alpha move. If you wipe out your cash reserves for a car, then the next real emergency hits, you're back in debt anyway. Personal finance is about system stability, not macho one-liners. Now let's talk about the horror that society is trying to normalize: 7-year auto loans and $1,000 a month car payments. I do not care how common it becomes. I will never call it normal. $1,000 a month for a car payment is obscene for the average person. That is retirement money. That is debt payoff money. That is mobility money. That is margin. That is a future business. That is options. And people are handing it over every month for a machine that gets older every day. Then they say, well, cars are just expensive now. Yes, they are. And that does not mean your budget suddenly became optional. Reality being harsh does not give you permission to become irrational. If housing gets more expensive, that doesn't mean you buy a mansion you can't afford, because that's just the market. The market can be crazy and you can still say no. That's what discipline is. It's refusing to let a broken culture write your household budget. And leasing? Don't even get me started on leasing. The way leasing is marketed is pure psychological manipulation. Drive a new car every 3 years. Lower monthly payments. Always under warranty. Sounds smooth. Sounds sophisticated. Sounds like you've hacked the system. What you've actually done is commit to perpetual car dependency at premium pricing. Leasing is often the most expensive way to operate a vehicle because you are constantly paying for the steepest years of depreciation, returning the car before you ever get the benefit of long-term ownership, and restarting the cycle over and over and over again. It is the financial version of renting your ego. You never own the asset. You never get to the cheap years. You are always in the expensive phase. Always paying, always resetting, always polishing the image. People love saying, I like having a new car every 3 years. Cool. I like financial freedom every year. And again, I understand the emotional appeal. A lease wraps overspending and sophistication. It lets people feel smart while staying broke. It says, I'm not wasting money, I'm managing depreciation. No, you're outsourcing the pain of ownership while guaranteeing you will always have a payment. That's not strategy, that's a subscription. Let me paint the contrast. Person A buys a reasonable used car that fits the 20/4/10 rule. Puts money down. Finances it for no more than 4 years, maybe less. Drives it for 8, 10, 12 years. Maintains it. Keeps insurance reasonable. Invests the difference every month. Person B leases a flashy vehicle every 3 years because they deserve something nice. Lower payment at first? Sure. Then another lease. Then another. Then another. For a decade, Person B has basically rented an image while Person A quietly built investments, flexibility, and peace of mind. 10 years later, who actually looks rich? The one with the shiny badge and zero equity? Or the one whose net worth has been compounding in silence? That's the deepest truth in this whole conversation. Wealth is quiet. Debt is loud. I want you to stop judging your life through a windshield. Some of the wealthiest people you'll ever meet drive boring, reliable cars because they understand the mission. The mission is not to impress people at red lights. The mission is to keep as much of your income working for you as possible. The mission is optionality. The mission is being able to say no to bad jobs, bad bosses, bad deals, bad emergencies. The mission is owning your time, and every oversized car payment pushes that mission farther away. So here's what I want you to do before you ever buy another vehicle. Start with gross monthly income. Multiply by 10%. That's your total all-in transportation budget. Then back out realistic insurance. Back out gas. Back out maintenance. Whatever remains is your max payment. Then calculate what car price that payment supports using a 48-month term and a 20% down payment. Whatever number comes out is your lane. Stay in it. Do not negotiate with your ego. Do not let the dealership interview your insecurity. Do not let a salesperson turn your identity into an amortization schedule. And if the number feels lower than what you wanted, good. That means the math is saving you from yourself. Because the entire system is built to make you feel normal while you do something stupid. Everybody's got a big payment. Everybody's financing forever. Everybody's upgrading. Everybody's leasing. Everybody's building credit. Everybody's talking about monthly numbers like they're discussing a gym membership instead of a multi-year wealth drain. That's how traps work. If it looked like a trap, fewer people would step in it. So let me be the rude voice that ruins the fantasy. If you make $65,000 a year and you're looking at a $90,000 truck you don't need, you are not rewarding yourself. You are volunteering to be broke in high definition. If you're justifying a 7-year loan because the monthly payment is manageable, you are not being strategic. You are being sedated. If you're leasing one new car after another so you can always look successful, you are paying retail for social approval. And if a vehicle does not fit the 20/4/10 rule, you do not get to call it affordable just because the bank said yes. Banks approve people for dumb things all the time. That is not a compliment. The goal is not to see what you can get approved for. The goal is to build a life where transportation is a tool, not a burden. Where your car serves your goals instead of hijacking them. Where money goes into your future instead of evaporating into interest, depreciation, and ego maintenance. That's how grown-ups buy cars. Not by asking, what can I squeeze into my monthly budget if I ignore everything else? But by asking, what vehicle lets me live well, save aggressively, invest consistently, and sleep peacefully? That question will change your life, because once you stop chasing the image, the numbers get cleaner. Once the numbers get cleaner, your stress drops. Once your stress drops, you realize you never needed half the car culture nonsense you were sold in the first place. You needed reliable transportation, you needed a plan, you needed boundaries, you needed the courage to be unimpressed by expensive things, that's it. And if this message stings a little, good. Financial truth is supposed to sting before it starts paying you back. Stop guessing what you can afford. Click the link in the description to download my free Conscious Spending Plan template and run your exact numbers today.